Oh my
Nerdy.
gosh. I've been Oh gosh, guys, I've been talking for like 2 minutes and I said, wait, I didn't even go live yet. All right. Hi guys. That's hilarious. Oh shoot. Hi Kara, Gamer Guy, Pamela, Debbie. I'm sitting here like, wait, I'm sitting here talking and we're not even live yet. Get it together, girl. Get it together. That's funny. Here we go. I guess we're going to try to do a reaction to a reaction. I don't know what we're going to try to do. We're going to wing it. Hey, GB.
Reaction session.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't get in trouble. Oh, that's what I forgot to send you. I knew we forgot something. We had all of the ducks in the row, and then one jumped out. Hey, Angel.
It's not too late.
Hello. Oh, I think it's little Kev. Let me get my eyeballs on. All right, let's listen to these sheep zombies of their government podcast about staged news. What?
Propaganda
Little
news.
Kev, what are you looking for? No propaganda news here, dude. We just talk about what's going on and make our own assumptions. Keep the sheep distracted. Hey, gamer guy. Who are the sheep? Iconic. Hi, Tilly.
Depends who you ask. Which side of the tracks
Exactly.
are you on?
Yeah, Kev's probably not going to stick around for long. Tilly's like, wrong chat, bro. Yeah, Kevin, we believe in UFOs, conspiracy theories, the earth is flat, all that good stuff in here.
I've got like a whole line of tinfoil hats, one in every color. It's pretty cool.
Right? And I totally believe Elvis Presley is still alive. Like, I cannot wait till he comes back and makes an appearance. I wonder if he'll come on my live. But the thing I was talking about that I had forgot to show you is we forgot to talk last night about the gap between Cleo going missing and the phone call to the police. GB. Or did we? I don't think we did.
I thought we did, but you're the one with the brain.
No, I am the which one? I'm one of the Wizard of Oz characters. I can't figure it out. I know they're all real though. Come on, guys. Did we last night? Did we discuss the time frame from when Cleo went missing to when the parents made the phone call to the police? Let me find it. And then we decided that we're going to kind of rewatch the behavioral panel and discuss what we think about what they're thinking and then what we think because I think they confused me. Did they confuse you a little bit?
Well, I told you what I took from it, and I think you saw the opposite, so now I'm a little confused, yeah. I feel like they are supporting the parents, and I don't have that same feeling.
It's almost like they get to the point where they talk about all their red flags and then they go, but I don't know. It could be anger, it could be they're tired. But I think we did talk about the, yeah, we did. It was really short. No, oh no, we didn't. No. Let me get this so you can read this to them. This article you found because there was something in here that I know for a fact I would have remembered. And then let's go break down the behavioral panel. I hope they're not telling us fibs, guys. You know, all these conspiracy theories. I feel like, I don't know. I kind of liked them until the end.
I definitely like to hear their theories either way.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, zoom in just a
Can you
tiny
read
bit.
that or no? Is that too? Okay, so this is supposedly what went on
Okay.
before when Cleo went missing before they called the police.
In an interview with Cleo's mother, Ellie Smith, and Ellie's boyfriend, Ellie said that once they realized Cleo was missing, they spent hours searching for Cleo. Edit. It was alleged that these 3 to 4 hours passed before police had been called. I am now hearing that it was only 1 hour that passed, but do not have a source. It does seem like the police or parents have released any information, or it does not seem like they have released any information in regards to what time the police were called. So the 3 to 4 hours is only alleged and not confirmed. The sooner the police are called, the more likely it is they find Cleo alive. If there was an abductor, so much of that evidence, fingerprints or tent campsites, tire tracks, etc., could have been destroyed in that alleged 3 to 4 hour time period. Later in the same interview, Ellie said Cleo cannot reach the tent zipper, and she said she would never leave the tent campsite without one of her parents. She called Cleo lazy and said that Cleo would have never walked away. Ellie said something about her not even liking to walk 5 minutes down the road to her work, something along those lines. You take your babies, 4 years old and younger, camping in a public area and sleep in a separate area of the tent. I find this incredibly strange. My babies and my dog would be sleeping in between my partner and I. As a mother in today's world, I just don't get it. 1, waiting to call the police, allegedly, not confirmed. 2, sleeping apart from your babies in an unprotected public area with dangerous terrain. These are just my thoughts. These points obviously don't make them guilty or anything, or that they did anything wrong. I just find it odd in my opinion. I hope the parents are being honest. Prayers for Cleo and her safe return.
That is weird that you would looking around before you would call. Hi,
I
Cass.
don't see how 3 to 4 hours would pass and that wouldn't have come up.
I mean, 3 to 4 hours to me kind of seems like maybe it's not that long. I mean, because after an hour, even after 30 minutes, I think I would have probably have covered 100 mile by 100 mile square radius on my feet. I mean, I would have been in my car driving through those little hills like I was in a jeep. And they had a but is this not a weird thing what they had sleeping in the tent? So we got, let me pull up a picture of the tent from, what's his name again? That good looking Australia man.
True crime, rocket science.
Rocket science. And nobody get Cleo's name wrong tonight. We know her name is not Chloe, it's Cleo, even though some people call her Chloe. I made a mistake and called her it last night, and of course I got yelled at in a comment.
I feel like everyone's made that mistake at least once already. So you're not alone.
Well, we saw it in the article. The article said, right?
Yeah,
Chloe,
and yeah, they said it in the behavioral panel as well.
did they?
Just listen, you'll catch it. Maybe once, maybe twice, couple times.
Hmm. So this is the tent. I mean, it's probably not the same exact coloring because I kept talking, and whoever said the Coleman tent last night, you guys were absolutely on the money. I wish we could see another angle, and I'll look for one later, but regardless of the angle, it's not like it's a drywall, it is a tent, right? Hi, David. They did, Kaz, and it was the friend we played it last night where he was like in the air. He said that there's no way she was out there. That pink onesie would have stood out. I mean, but regardless, did they not say that there was a dog also in the tent?
No, that was just the person from the article, but their dog is at the house, right? Unless someone's picked up the dog. I'm not sure on that.
Okay, never mind. That was the lady talking about the who wrote the article. Because they did have a dog, but the dog was being watched by a friend because supposedly still Cleo's mom can't go back to the house. She's too distraught to go back.
David is asking if the parents
Hello,
have been cleared.
Michael. Well, people keep saying they've been cleared. I don't know, David Jr. They could have said they're cleared. I mean, maybe they work different over there. Like, you never hear anybody's cleared here until it's like they've made an arrest on who did it. You know?
I just feel like everybody's a suspect until you have either a person of interest or someone's been arrested.
Exactly. But how do I don't know. I just don't see a stranger going and opening up a tent in the middle of the night and you've got two babies sleeping right next to each other and you snatch a kid in a sleeping bag with, let's not forget, the camera that picked her voice up. I mean, how would that not have picked anything up?
I just keep
I mean,
thinking this is so
mm.
high risk.
I mean, what did the guy do? Did the guy creep in the tent earlier and say, "Okay, look at the parents are sleeping in back, the kids are in the front at the door. I'm just gonna unzip it and take my chances and grab a kid in the sleeping bag and just run." It's just so weird. I mean, talk about a high risk kidnap. I was shocked when I heard it, so that means they have a major lead, don't you think? I don't think so. I still think the parents are suspect because we've got some pictures of her pregnant with the babies when she had her blonde hair. We'll show you guys, but let's listen to a little of the behavioral panel and then let's stop it and see what they say and what we think, because they talk about so many red flags, and then they confused me tonight on this one. Confused me. How long were they planning on camping? I know that that was the first time they went camping since the little baby was born. You know, iconic.
I do not know. Definitely something to look into.
And another thing, let me show the picture. Let me share my full screen. Another thing too is that we kind of figured, we've been doing the math of times and what people have said. So we think they've been together, what, 2.5 years maybe?
Roughly since 2019.
You broke up right there.
They've been together since 2019.
That's right. So there's the mom with little Cleo on the left and little baby Isla on the right. Now the only thing is could that been at the campground? I don't think. I think the baby looks a little younger than 7 months in this picture. Definitely. I think the baby's what, 3 months, 4 months maybe?
Yeah, that's a newborn.
Look at how cute her little cheeks are. And the mom, this is when she was pregnant with the baby. And look at her hair. It was blonde.
Yeah, they do have social media. Ellie has a Instagram. I believe she also has a TikTok, and she probably has others. I'm still looking for those. Those are just the two that I found so far.
Oh, yeah, we dig in everything. This is a campfire that they were actually sifting through to see what was in there, which is kind of creepy. That they
Yeah, I
actually,
want to
this is
know.
when they went back to the campground a second time that we spoke about last night, and they were sifting campfires to see what they could find. Let me see if I can get in there a little deeper. Nope. Very interesting, guys. Let's look. Did anybody miss the behavioral panel earlier today with the parents? David Jr., what if they are tracking someone that had to eventually stop driving on that coastal highway in the middle of nowhere for so long? They would have to get gas at some point. They
Unless
said
they
they
pull
had
a
cameras,
Joey Arrows.
everybody that was going to the north. Bless you. Last night, the police spoke about the fact that they could go out of that campground in four directions, but I don't want to get too deep into this because I wanted a behavioral panel. I found it very interesting. And I've never played a video and tried to do a reaction, so we'll see how that goes. But on this picture right here, they had four ways to get out of the campground, Blow Hole campsite. Onslow, Tom Price, Mika Farah, and Kalbari. Anyone that was going to the north was going to be caught on CCTV because on the way out. But now, if you're going to the south to Carnarvon, they didn't talk about surveillance camera. They saw one vehicle, a black vehicle, and if I believe from my memory, that car traveled south, right?
I think that's what they said, yes.
Make a right out of the Blowhole Campground down Beach Road, and it traveled south. And that was the car they were interested in finding. And that's all they said too. Let me see. Let me just find that one article about the car. Because nothing's changed about the car except for they're still looking for it. Just like they're still looking for the red Tacoma in Summer Wells'
Kazzy
case.
said the police had a press conference an hour ago and stated that the 000 was called and made it 6:23 a.m.
Wait, let me get back and find her comment. The police had a press conference an hour ago and stated that the so is 00 what is
That's their
000 call
911.
in
911.
Australia? Okay. One sec, guys. Pro Visual. Okay, so the mystery vehicle. When you get my age, you got to keep notes. If you don't keep notes, you have no freaking clue what's going on.
Yeah,
Let
I
me get
bought
rid
3
of that
notebooks just for
tab.
you.
I can't. I can't see chat. One sec, guys. I'm trying to see about this vehicle real quick.
Oh, Michael said he posted a picture of the car they're looking for in Discord.
Did he? I'll look in
Michael's
1
is always
second.
coming through.
Okay. Detective Superintendent Rod Wild of the Major Crime Division told reporters on Sunday that a pair traveling together along the Northwest Coastal Highway saw a car turn off Blowholes Road towards Carnival, which is south, between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. last Saturday. So that was the car. We are hoping that the persons that were in that vehicle come forward and make themselves known to police so we can speak to them. Witnesses were unable to give detailed description of the car and how many people were inside. They believe it's a passenger vehicle. But now he says that there's a picture of the car. So let me go see real quick. And if you guys are not in Discord, join Discord. It's no, it's just you explain that, girl. I can't explain stuff like that.
We post a couple of memes here and there. We talk about crime. We have little folders where you can go in and talk specifically about which crime you want to follow, and no drama. We just pretty much more of this just offline.
It's a good one. Then we have the book club on Monday nights.
Yes,
where
that
we've
book
been
is so good.
listening to a lullaby. Yeah, lullaby by Chuck Apelnick. All right, girl, you want to take over on this one?
Sounds good. Urgent assistance request. Assisting police with a vehicle of interest. It was reported as being seen last week, Saturday 16th or Sunday 17th October at East West Road entrance truck park near the NWCH. Does anyone recall seeing a vehicle there, or has anyone reported a vehicle in that location or driving on the NWCH or Link roads during this period? Possibly a silver Ford Falcon, EA, or similar. If anyone can recall seeing a vehicle at this location, has dash cam video, or can remember a license plate number or any other details of a vehicle similar to the picture, please contact security and emergency services immediately. And there is a image of like an example.
So I wonder how they went from not knowing the vehicle to knowing the vehicle, unless maybe they saw it on camera somewhere. All right. Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into this behavioral panel and see what we all think about what they thought. Because I don't know. I'm sticking to what I feel, and something is off. I think what's off too with me is, first of all, taking them there to learn how to swim, and the fact that he says nothing until he wants to talk about riding bikes and swimming. Mm, I don't know.
I spend most of my time on Wall Street or corporate America.
All right, we're going to talk about Cleo Smith today. She's missing, and this happened in Australia, and her parents are being interviewed. We watched a couple of interviews. We watched one group of videos, or one long video, and we watched another video. We decided to get the latest of the interviews. Greg, you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, so what we know is she has been gone.
All right, guys, so we're going to stop and we're going to talk and tell some thoughts and listen to you guys and what your thoughts are so that we don't get kicked off of the live again tonight. But in about 20 minutes or so, we end up speeding it up to 1.5 so that the interview doesn't go an hour and 40 minutes. All right.
Hold on, if you could turn it up just a tiny bit.
Wait 1 sec. What?
Turn it up just a tiny bit if you can.
All right. Oh, that's it. You might want to go and put your the other phone on and put the AirPod in.
Yeah, the weather's getting kind of crazy.
Camping in a place called the Blowholes in Western Australia. The child came up missing. You'll hear part of the story here. The child came up missing during the night from a tent. And they're apparently in their little camping areas around there. We're not going to try to give you all the details. Go look for yourself and figure out all the mechanics of that. We're going to look at them. And I believe this is the mother and the stepfather. The mother's name is Ellie Smith. The stepfather's name is Jake. Jake Glidden. Is Cleo Smith. Cleo Smith.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
The last time you spoke to her? Do you remember what you said?
Okay, cool.
Do you think someone knows where Cleo is? Or
someone has to. It's been 4 days. And yeah, they have to.
do you feel someone's taken her?
We hold hope that she's here, because if I think about her being taken, it's pretty, a million other things cross our mind. But
to me, it's almost like I can't like pinpoint it, but there's something about him. I'm not saying he's evil or I don't know, but there's something with him that maybe the mom doesn't know exists. Like I was asking and saying earlier, like considering how long have they known each other? I mean, did they meet? Did she end up getting pregnant quick, considering when they did meet and the baby being 7 months old? We know most women are pregnant for close to 9 months, right?
That's what they say.
Okay, so if you do the math and you consider the the year they said they started dating is what they say 2019 or 18.
If it was 2018, it would have been the very end, but I'm pretty sure it was the beginning of 2019.
So we know how to count, basically most of us do. It's 9 months plus 7, and then that's how long they were together. So did he know her? And I mean, know him before they got together? And listen, I'm just putting out ideas that in the relationship that actually make sense in my mind, the way that their behavior is. Like, you would honestly also think like if you and your husband were going through what they were going through and you were on camera, I mean, wouldn't you think that your husband would like at least have like his arm
His
around
arm
you, like,
around you? Yeah.
consoling you, like just maybe a couple tears coming down your eyes and maybe looking up, just we want her back. I mean, even once in a while answering questions, just looking up and crying, like, please, anybody, if anybody has seen anything. Like, how come they don't ever mention either the car that went by or they said there was a car and if that person, please come forward. I mean, just something is rubbing me the wrong way. And he's just like, my spidey
And
sense tells me that something's off with him.
I get that giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's the stepfather, but if he is just taking a supportive step back, that arm around the back or around the shoulder or whatever, that would be something that I would expect to see, silently supporting.
Yeah.
So that
I
rules that
mean,
out for me.
I mean, are we wrong? Do you got well? Not. I mean, her actually, Iconic and I are good together because we don't agree. Well, not a disagree fighting type of deal, but we do not always agree on what we think happened in cases. But that's what's awesome about it because we get along so well and can discuss it, and never do we ever say to one another, "God, how could you even think like that?" We
Well,
totally
sometimes
just listen to each other, and sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? In a way, that kind of does make sense.
we're
But
just two girls in a dark room with a couple of flashlights trying to figure stuff out. And sometimes you see things I don't, and sometimes I might see things you don't.
and we're big time diggers, and I will call everyone and bother them, so I have to call JD Huff tomorrow. All right, so let's continue this. It's almost over, and this is where I start disagreeing with the behavioral panel. I feel like they play the good card and they play the bad card because they want you to see the good and the bad, but to me, why isn't his arm around her? Why isn't like his arm around her and like her head down on his chest, like crying, like I just want Cleo home?
I feel like maybe she knows something and she doesn't feel that security with him right now. And I feel like he knows something and he doesn't feel like, he's in the position to give that comfort because maybe he knows something. That's just my theory, allegedly, as they say.
If my daughter was missing and I knew that my man was there and had nothing to do with it, and I would be like trying to talk but crying, and hopefully he would have your arm around you and your head down on your chest, and I mean, I would probably, and this is going to sound gross, guys, but I would probably be eating my own snot that I would be crying so much. All right, let's get into this end of this article. I mean, video.
I mean, that's why everyone else has their job, because that's what they're here to do, to find her.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so I would say straight off with the answer here, they locate instantly that there will be somebody that knows. This isn't, as Chase often says, the missing perpetrator. It's not that they've got a name, but they're not saying, hey, I don't know, could be anybody. They're going, there's somebody. There is somebody out there, which locates it outside of themselves very, very clearly, rather than going, hey, who knows, could be anybody. That's important for me. The male agrees. There's agreement there. She folds her arms again tighter in resolution. So we can keep these folded arms as a baseline, and probably, in my mind, a baseline around comfort level. Or maybe if you were on the campsite with them, they'd be sitting in their chairs like this. Who knows? We don't have enough, but we know from that last interview that the arms are folded all the time. So, but there are slight changes with that. They suggest if she'd wandered, they would have found a body by now, I think. So now in that particular piece, they're I guess playing tentatively with the idea of entertaining the idea of an abduction and all the possibilities that, as they say, that go along with that, which are very, very grim possibilities. That's all I've got on that. I don't see, having watched all of that, the first interview and all of that second one, I don't see a huge amount of differences between the two, or any differences that would cause alarm bells with me. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think just a couple of points here. The husband doesn't nod until he hears his wife, and it's almost like he still can't communicate, and still doesn't really show any emotion at all. But the wife's answer is confident, direct. It's instantaneous with no latency, which is the time gap between the end of a question and the beginning of an answer. And it's possible that there's maybe some kind of apathy in the stepdad, but I don't think that there is guilt. There may be a feeling of guilt or a feeling of responsibility, but I don't think there is actual criminal guilt there. So, Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I felt better after seeing this one. This one makes me go back to, okay, because the groups of videos we've been watching up to this point, as we said before, are the ones that happened much.
1 second, I gotta stop here. Opaline says that I read that it's dangerous there and people have fallen off cliff. Do you remember any cliffs in that area, Iconic? Because
I saw just the slightest, maybe what you could call like a ledge, perhaps. There were a couple of stairs that led down to the water, but it wasn't a cliff by any means.
yeah, this is like the western side where it was almost like a beach area, and but even if she did go, there's no 4-year-old going to open up the baby couldn't even open up the tent. The tent zippers were too high, she was too short, and she could not have left the tent on her own. And not only that, but she left with her sleeping bag, with her 7-month-old baby on the cot right next to her.
Later than, days later than this first one that we watched. And this one, they're on, they're up, and they're around. They're like, yeah. And this other one, they're about worn out. So I feel a lot better about seeing this one, because what we're seeing the adapters of the arms. They're still trying to get together and decide what they think about everything. I'm sure at this point, trying to decide what might have really happened as they're going through this. So seeing that makes me feel better, because I think, Mark, I think there was a dramatic difference between this video and the other video, not for red flags and stuff, but how relaxed they were. How comparatively, they're not emotionally worn out yet. And as Greg talks about the fatigue you go through those things, the adrenal fatigue. So I think they're not at that point yet. So that's why she's still alive. She's still up. Those eyes are wide open. His are wide open, and they're sitting up a lot more, and they're not moving slow. So I felt a lot better about it after seeing that part of it. Greg, what do you got?
Let's talk for a minute about adrenal fatigue. The piece that we were watching before this is less than 7 days after this video. These don't look like the same people. Yes, you can tell they're the same people, but their faces are hollow and worn, and you can see they look older. Adrenal fatigue can ultimately shut your body down. I've watched people ball up in the fetal position with no control over it. It just happens. When I worked SEER, it would happen to us once in a great while, or more often than we wanted it to. You push a person to the point that they just run out of a hormone or two, and then they just ball off. The human body is driven by hormones. You can believe whatever else you want, but if we take out a hormone and leave an imbalance of another one, something happens to your body. And people wear out. Your adrenaline can only hold you for so long, and people keep going and going and going and going. And everybody's had a situation where they get to the end of their adrenaline, and suddenly they just collapse. All of us have capabilities to work through that kind of thing, but then we collapse at the end. So I want you to pay really close attention to her face. Her face is smiling. That's who she is. She's distraught in this beginning thing, but her face is smiley. Now compare it to the later video, or the earlier videos we showed you, and see the difference in the way her face looks. I was reminded of a guy who went through SEER, who had a smile on his face, and we tried our best to take it off, and we couldn't. Not because he was not trying to smile, just the way his face was made. Jake, the stepfather here, he's very emotional internally. He's not showing it externally, because we always know that when you're thinking about emotional things, you sit and think about emotional things later today for yourself. Think about something emotionally moving for you, and watch your eyes drift. Typically, they drift down into your right in humans. Just is one of those things. And although I'm no absolutist, I've noticed that in 90+% of people I've ever seen. So we see he's internally focused and he's balled up while she's talking. Here again, we see the baseline. She's talking, he's balled up, he doesn't respond. She says a million other things, and she goes into an emotional accessing as well, because she's thinking, oh my God. And you can see it in her face. And then she gets to resignation, and she basically says, they'll do this because it's their jobs, and we've done everything we can. Anything we think of, they've already thought of. This is a horrible place to start the week, and we see them a week later. I'm with you. This makes them look much more human. And I'll leave you with one thing. I worked with a British interpreter many, many years ago, Russian speaker, who had done work for the Queen and the whole thing. And he stood around like this all the time. And you would say, Peter, are you bored with us? Are we shutting you out? And he would drop his hands, and he could scratch his knees. And he'd say, no, I just look much calmer when I'm folding my arms. So you just look at people, and body matters. If a person always does this, it means nothing. So we're looking at exactly that. That's all I got.
Do you think someone knows where Cleo is, or someone?
Someone has to. It's been 4 days. And yeah, they have to.
Do you fear someone has taken her?
We hold hope that, she's here, because if I think about her being taken, it's pretty, a million other things cross our mind. But I mean, that's why everyone else has their job, because that's what they're here to do, to find her.
All right. Well, let's throw around the room one time, and everybody in 30 seconds or less, tell what they think happened. We'll start with Mark, then Chase and Greg, and I'll wrap it up. Mark?
Yeah, so I can quite understand if you think you see some red flags and you want to, focus on these parents. I would just say, I think you're focusing in the wrong place. You have a lot of power out there. I would just be sure that whatever you do next, you put that power in a place that could be most helpful. In my mind, that's not focusing on the parents, but focusing on anything outside of them. Get the picture out. We'll stick the number down below, especially if you're in Australia. Get information out about this child and keep your eyes open. Chase, what do you got on this one?
I think we are looking at two parents. One of them feels extreme sense of loss, and I think another one feels a sense of potential responsibility or guilt about how letting it happen or allowing it to happen. And I don't think we're seeing parents that are directly involved with the disappearance here, and that's what it speaks to me. And I'm actually glad that we're doing one of these instead of just like hammering down on somebody in a video like that, which is always even more awful. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, guys, I watched this video, and I first see red flags, of course, and then you have to go and look at the person. You have to look at what's going on in the person's psyche, what's going on. We can't read minds. We can see an outside symptom of something, and then you have to dig through it. Then you have to go use baseline. Now look at this woman's baseline, and she's in a dire situation in the beginning, but her face is smiling. And then we overlay that, and then we get to that confirmation thing. We see some baseline things that are not normal for all of us, and that affects it. So when we tell you baseline, 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 that matters. This is a great example of baseline. He doesn't talk, she does. We see it every time. So I will say in the beginning, I was all over the board on this one. I'll tell you, when I found this video, I was like, oh my God, look at the difference. But after going through it many times and watching, could I be wrong? Yes. I hope that I'm not. And I surely believe that these two people are not involved. I hope they find this little girl. We cannot say Cleo Smith and put her picture up enough times to get this little girl found and get her home safely. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, when I was talking earlier about guilt, I think what the guilt we're seeing with her, or the feelings that I was seeing of guilt, maybe she feels guilty because she didn't hear it happening. Maybe she feels guilty because she slept through it. Maybe they've been drinking or something and just completely missed the noise of the sound of somebody coming in. We were talking earlier before we started about how the wind was there, and it's not like camping in the woods. You're camping out on right in front of the ocean, which is loud. There's a lot of wind, and tents make noise when wind hits them. So I think that difference in the earlier interview compared to this latest interview, all the difference in the world. I think they're about worn out, and I don't think they'd be that worn out if they had anything to do with it. They'd be worried, but it would be a different kind of worry, I believe. So I think the guilt we're seeing is from that happening and not feeling like they could protect the child or didn't protect the child. Were you going to say something, Greg?
Yeah, parents have, Mark, you hit it dead on. Every parent feels like they have one responsibility, and that's to protect their child. It doesn't matter if you caused it or if you couldn't stop it. You're going to feel that, period. That associated guilt is going to be there. So it's hard to read past that, and our systems are primitive. We don't have a separate associated guilt with a direct guilt system to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I think
and Mark, would you put all that information in the community? Just make a little poster or something?
Yeah. It'll be down below. It'll be in the community. Go and find it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. Just hit that little red button down there and then hit the bell, and you'll know when we have a new one come out. All right. Thanks so much. And that was a great one, guys. And we'll see you next time.
All righty. So what did you think of that? I know my thoughts.
I feel like I understand we shouldn't all straight jump to the conclusion of guilt, but I cannot put all of that aside. I feel like I still have the same stance as yesterday. If you look at just the situation and just the facts at the campsite, that's shady. If you look at just their behavior and what they're saying and how they're acting, that's shady. And whenever you put it all together, I don't feel good about it. And if I'm wrong, and I hope I am, then good. But I just don't feel like we're getting the whole picture.
Something is very off with them. Opal, that is where she went missing from the terrain. So really from the camp to the water there's no cliffs. I mean, there's like a little hill that she might roll down, but I don't see any monstrous mountains, and I don't see her leaving the tent at 4 years old in the middle of the night with a sleeping bag. Because if she did go, and let's just say, God forbid, she roamed off and went into the ocean, the sleeping bag would have been found between there to the ocean, in my opinion.
Can you tell if there's any sort of lighting out there? Because I would imagine it would be almost pitch black. And I don't know many 4-year-olds who are willing to just run off in the dark.
You're right. And then you've got the security, the CCTV that picked her voice up was on a shack that was 22 what away? Was it meters?
Kilometers, I think.
I don't think
I don't
it was
remember.
kilometers.
Different system.
No. There was actually, I thought it was like pretty close. Is 22, how far is 22?
Let me look. Hold on.
Where's that? I'm looking for that article real quick that said how far it was. It was on the
That's about 13
shack.
miles.
Hmm?
That's about 13 miles.
Oh no. This was on the shack at the campsite. There it is, where her voice could be heard. And then after this, I've got to get to bed. I work tomorrow.
He won't ask them to recall the I almost said FaceTime, to recall the timeline of the disappearance. Why won't they ask for a timeline?
I don't know, but her voice was heard on a CCTV on one of the beach shacks. They're not saying how far in this article, but right there at the campsite. Her voice has been heard on CCTV at the campsite where the 4-year-old vanished. And there was actually rocket science, true crime rocket science. He had the camera picture, which we had. One sec. Yeah, that something's very off. It just really reminds me of Dior Koontz, and I don't like it.
This week's episode of Clear in the Air, we're going to be talking to Ben Bollier from Chimbrow. He's playing an important role on our transcript.
I don't like it.
I just feel like if somebody was planning on taking her, they would have done it at the house where they had been watching her. They knew what the risks were. It would have been much less risky already being a high risk situation than following them all the way out to the middle of nowhere. You have no idea if there's cameras, no idea who's around you, who's sleeping where, when they're falling asleep, if they have any kind of weapon. You don't know. There's so many variables in taking her from that location if you're a stalker.
No, that they ruled.
Or if you're an abductor.
No. They ruled out the stalker issue. They completely ruled it out. They said that there was nobody stalking the house.
Whoever it is, it was a high risk situation.
Seriously high risk, because here is what the true crime rocket science man was talking about. But just watch this
voice at the Blowholes campsite.
Where they talk about her, where he talks about Cleo's voice being heard.
Smith's voice at the Blowholes campsite. Now we've got proof of a sort that 4-year-old Cleo really was at the Blowholes camp, even if no witnesses saw her. If we can rule out something happening at the family home, and it appears we can, then this case suddenly got a whole lot more mysterious, troubling, and difficult. A few scenarios that come into play as a result, and in no particular order, are, well, before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So the first possibility, the first scenario that comes into play if Cleo was at the campsite, and it looks like she was, is did Cleo wander off? We know that Cleo went to bed before anyone else. We also know that Cleo was awake at 1:30 in the morning when everyone else was asleep. We also know that when she woke up, she wanted water. It's not clear when Cleo woke up whether she went to her mother or whether Ellie went to her. But I do think there's a possibility that if she came out of the tent to get water.
Okay, I can't agree with that whatsoever when he thinks that she would come out of the tent to get water. But she was heard. And it was like 22 something away from where she was, which was close enough that that motion sensor little camera that recorded her voice must have been to when she walked by close enough where it triggered it and they could hear her. But they were also there for that was the first day they got there and she went missing. Okay. Wasn't the second, wasn't the third, it was the first day. we'll dig a little more. I'm going to see if I can maybe somehow find that voice clip. But I've got to call it a night, guys. It is like totally 2:30 in the morning, and I work tomorrow.
Good luck.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I'm very curious to see where this case goes, and I don't have a good feeling about that stepfather. Something's very off with him, with me. Shady, in my opinion.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
His body language and his expression and his tone, and it just doesn't fit to the scenario of what the situation is. And the comments that are made, and disgusting, and there's just so many little red flags. The kids in the front.
Not saying the name, not knowing what you want to say to your child or the person who has her, supposedly.
I've not found it yet, Matt. I've not found it. I don't know how they release things in Australia, but if it was happening here, we would have already have had it. But they do not work like that over there. We're looking. We'll find it. As soon as it hits well, I guess we could go check the black web, girl. The dark web, I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
All right, guys. Thank you all for coming in. Shredder, you're in the mod room in Discord. She's in there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you all know what I'm gonna say. Stay vigilant and keep your baby safe. Especially from the man earlier who, if you did not see the video, he was going to go kidnap a 5-year-old with a shovel, duct tape, gloves, a flashlight, a first aid kit, condoms. What else was I missing?
Did you say rope?
No, he
He
didn't
had
have
gloves. He had everything.
He didn't have rope. He had duct tape.
That man was prepared. Not prepared enough, apparently.
And he had the little girl on video in his phone. Like he was totally stalking this little baby out, and then made a list to go, just so. Obviously, the people do it because, that Bobby Robert Wilt, whatever his name was that I did the video on, he actually did snatch that little girl barefoot on her bike right in front of her yard and got her in the car. Thank God the neighbor saw that, because they do snatch kids. It's rare, but it seems to be happening a little more often these days. With that note, guys, everyone have a great night. Thank you for coming in. And thank you, Iconic, always.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.